All right, guys, it's time to do something no one, no one has asked for. I'm gonna start a reading vlog. Yes, you're watching it, the first inaugural reading vlog where I'm gonna be talking about books that I'm reading currently as I'm reading them, showing you a little bit of the circumstances surrounding my reading days. I think it's going to be tremendous. It's gonna be fun. The two books I'm gonna be reading during this vlog: Iain M. Banks, Consider Fleabag, book one in the Culture series. Of course, as you may already know, Culture series doesn't have to be read chronologically in the order that it was written. You can start with any book. There's standalones within this big universe that Iain M. Banks has built. But I decided to start with book one, Consider Fleabag. Many will point to Player of Games, which I think is book two, or Use of Weapons, book three, as good places to start as well. Those two books are the big ones, the ones that everyone talks about when they're talking about Culture series. But boy, am I glad that I started this one. I started it on the plane today, and I read already like 70 pages of it, and it's incredible. It's amazing. Iain M. Banks, I'm so happy that I'm connecting with his prose. The writing is fabulous. It's straightforward, not purple in any way, but beautifully descriptive at the same time. From the first scene in this book, I was already hooked. It's fun also. I thought it would be more dense for some reason. That's just kind of how I imagined this culture world to be. Of course, there's still plenty to go. Plenty could go wrong with a book. Not always did a book that began well for me ended up being a 5-star read, but I'm hoping this is going to be just that. It's a lot of fun, which is also an unexpected element. I actually laughed a couple of times while I was reading this. It's so much fun. I just read this one part, no spoilers, but our protagonist ends up, by circumstances that I won't go into, as part of this almost like a space pirate group, and they're about to be dumped onto a planet where he plus the other ones are going to be attacking a monastery to rob it. In any case, he's got this uniform, this helmet on that doesn't fit him. Like, he moves his head inside it, the helmet stays on, doesn't move with his head, and all of a sudden he notices that his visor is fogging up, and the way it's written, it's so funny, and he thinks to himself, like, probably if I blow on it, it's gonna get worse. But then of course he blows on it and it gets worse, and now he can't see anything. It's so much fun, like that type of humor, situational, awesome stuff. I am so excited, so happy that this is working out so far really nicely for me, but I just started it, like I said. Remains of the Day, on the other hand, is gonna be the second book that I'm gonna be reading in this reading vlog. Kazuo Ishiguro, hello. If you've watched any of my videos this year, you've probably heard Ishiguro mention Clara and the Sun was such a revelation. I also liked Never Let Me Go. This is a Nobel Prize winner, and Remains of the Day is Ishiguro's, probably his most famous book. It got him the Booker Prize. I don't think he wins a Nobel without this book. It's been made into movie, of course, with who? I think Anthony Hopkins playing the main role, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't seen the movie, but I'm gonna watch the movie after I read the book for sure. So I'm gonna start this today, and I'm really excited. This is, I think this was on the list of those 100 books that New York Times put out, 100 books of 21st century, the best 100 books. So I'm excited. Two completely different books. One, of course, science fiction, right up my alley. This one, literary fiction, and I'm really, really excited to read them both. So this book does not want to stay up. So yeah, I'm gonna go get some food, continue reading, and I'll talk to you soon. I gotta move on. This is the pizzeria where they filmed the first scene of the show Billions. Okay, time for a quick update. I'm about 50 pages into Remains of the Day. So enough to form a good first impression of the book. We'll talk about it in a second. And about 180 pages into Consider Fleabag, so not quite halfway through. So now with Consider Fleabag, I am shocked. I expected this book to be something completely different than what it is. My expectations have been totally subverted. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I just need to continue reading and really figure out what this book and what this series is going to be. I was expected this to be a little bit more deep, a little bit more philosophical. This, so far, has been non-stop action. In the beginning, it started off that way. Our protagonist, when we met him, he was in a very precarious position, and I loved it. The world building was good, the writing was really good, straightforward, punchy, good. Slight problem that I'm having with this book is that we're basically going from one impossible situation into another. A scenario in which our protagonist should be dead into another one. It's a little bit much. The pacing seems off in the sense that we are just bombarded. It's like we're watching Mission Impossible and crazy things are happening all the time. I wish things would slow down just a bit, I think. But in no way am I negative on the book. I'm having a ton of fun reading it. Just like I said, not quite what I expected. We'll see what's gonna happen. One thing I have to say, there's just a passage that I just read, a scene that I read in this book that really blew my mind. It was dark, it was difficult, it was visceral. It reminded me, completely different scenario, but it reminded me of the priest's tale in Hyperion, how I was affected reading that similar situation here. Oh boy, if you've read Fleabag, you might know what I'm talking about. He's on an island, and things that are happening there, quite dark, quite dark. Now, Remains of the Day, on the other hand, very different read. And it's perfection that I'm reading these side by side because, well, Fleabag is such a fast-paced read. This, of course, only 50 pages in, but much slower, much more thought-provoking, much more thoughtful in the sense that our protagonist, we're in his head and he is thinking about his world, his life, his job as a butler, the dignity of a butler. We're hearing stories about his father, about other butlers who he looks up to, but this world that he has built, the idea of what he should be, the essence of him as a man, as a human, is fading. The world is fading, this insular world of butlers who are putting on these events for the masters of their houses and who kind of control day-to-day operations of these big, beautiful properties is slowly going by the wayside. And he is starting to realize that he has to maybe adjust. So it's a book about a moment in time, and it's really well written. The interesting thing about Kazuo Ishiguro is his writing style. This is completely different than Clara and the Sun. This is completely different than Never Let Me Go. It doesn't feel like the same author could have written both books, both types of books. This is fantastic. It feels almost like as if it was written by someone from Victorian times. I'm really enjoying this. I have not connected with the protagonist, and this is not a book that I'm necessarily loving just yet, but I am interested. I'm reading this book and I'm realizing the depth and profundity of it, and that is really exciting to me. I'm hoping I'll be blown away by the reading experience as well by the time I finish the book. For now, I'm just, like I said, enjoying it, enjoying the fact that I can slow down as I'm interjecting it into my Fleabag reading. And yeah, it's really good. So anyway, I'm gonna continue reading and I'll talk to you soon.
Take the I-495 West ramp, then use the left 3 lanes to take the ramp to I-495 West.
quick check-in here as I'm about 3/4 of the way through both books. And I am very happy to report that indeed I'm loving the reading experience of both books, and maybe especially of going between the two of them as they are so different. First off, consider Fleabag has come into its own. The story has slowed down a little bit. At times there's still a lot of action, but I think in the beginning it felt like it was maybe a little bit too much piling on. Now things have slowed down. The world building is fantastic, incredible scenes, and Ian M. Banks really shows his ability as a writer to go between these action sequences and then just sprinkle some fabulous prose into the writing. It's really well done. The craft of storytelling at its best. I'm loving it. If this isn't the best of culture series, I cannot wait to continue. I'm hoping, of course, that the ending of this book is as good as the first 3/4 of it have been, because if that's the case, it's gonna be one of my favorite books of the year. Definitely top 10. Who knows, maybe top 5. There's been so many great books, so many great science fiction books that I read this year. It's going to be a little bit tough, but nevertheless, I'm having a fabulous time with this book. Now, Remains of the Day. Also fantastic, different reasons. I think in the last check-in I mentioned that this feels like a different Ishiguro to me. I was wrong. This is Ishiguro at his best. The subtleties of Ishiguro's writing are all there. It's just fantastic. His ability to show you without telling, to hint at things as you're reading, is second to none. Of course, we have the butler, but we have also a maid who works in the same mansion with him. And obviously, there's something developing between them. Even though nothing happens, even though not a single word of affection is said, you can feel their hearts pounding. You can sense their emotions underneath. Even though Ishiguro gives you nothing, his ability to make you feel emotions that are not on the page is really second to none. I don't think I've read anyone who can do it to the extent that he is able to do it. It really makes for a fantastic read, as it adds a whole new layer to the reading experience when you can take the storyline, the setting, the characters, and then also have this additional layer of meaning that you are bringing to the reading experience. So fantastic. Ishiguro, I mean, okay, I get it. He's amazing. I love it. Anyway, I'm on the rooftop of a gym where I work out when I'm in New York. It's a beautiful day. I'm loving the reading experience. I'm loving life. I cannot wait to get back to these books and finish them. Next time I'll check in with you. Most likely I'll be done with both of them. So till then, okay, time for the final check-in. I just finished both books and I am really excited. Both were incredible, excellent, such fantastic back and forth between these two books. A reading experience like no other for me. I really enjoyed shooting this vlog. Let's talk about them quickly. First off, Remains of the Day. This is a 10 out of 10 read for me right off the bat. It's magnificent. It's a mesmerizing, heartbreaking read, beautifully written, full of stunning yet quiet, subtle moments. It reminded me in that of Stoner by John Williams, a book that I loved last year. This is my stoner of 2024. Lots of similarities between the two protagonists in Stoner and Mr. Stevens in Remains of the Day. They both seem to have made some bad choices in life, did not grab life by the horns for sure, and this book is full of regret. This book is really a meditation on life's purpose, the meaning of life, the meaning of choices that we make and how they affect us. And if you're of a certain age, like me, I'm 50 this year, this book is doubly impactful, I think. Not that someone younger, not that a teenager couldn't appreciate this book, but I do think having some experiences in life and some regrets perhaps will hit differently. So again, while I would recommend this to anyone, if you're a little bit older, I think you'll gain a little bit more out of this book. I really enjoyed it. There's so many things here that really resonated with me. Also, Ishiguro just as a writer is really proving to be a revelation for me. I read now 3 of his books, and if I was to rank them, I would say number 3 would be Never Let Me Go. Clara and the Sun would be above it at number 2, and Remains of the Day, my number 1 choice. very different books, yet there's some commonalities. In Remains of the Day, of course, we have this butler who's a little bit older now and is reflecting on what had happened throughout his life as a butler. In Clara and the Sun, we have an artificial friend, Clara, an android. They both seem to be similar in one important respect. They both end up standing in the shadows a lot. Clara, as an android, is often kind of in the corner, facing the wall as people are talking, and they forget that she's even there. Mr. Stevens' job is to be in the shadow, to always be there, ready to serve at a moment's notice, to anticipate his master's wishes, but at the same time to hear without listening, to be in the shadows. So that was a very interesting commonality between Clara and Mr. Stevens. Otherwise, they're completely different characters. Mr. Stevens is a lot closer to Stoner, like I said, than to Clara. Beautiful book, really well written, beautiful prose, feels so authentic. Really, I could not recommend this book enough. It's probably not going to be for everyone, though. It is a little bit slow. The language is very stiff, but boy, what a reading experience for me. On the other hand, consider Fleabag. Nothing stiff about this book, nothing stilted. It's exciting. What an amazing ride. This is a space opera. This is big stakes. As you know already, book 1 in the Culture series. I cannot wait to continue. We have a galactic war. We have grand stakes because of it, but also we have human experience. We have politics. We have choices that are being made. We have our main protagonist who's a changer. I'm not going to get into it. The less you know about this book, probably the better off you are. But I will say our protagonist, it's not someone who I even liked necessarily. I didn't hate him. I could understand why he's making the choices that he's making along the way. Even if I didn't agree with many of the choices, he was fascinating. There is a character here that I loved. One of my favorite non-human characters in sci-fi, Unaha Klosp, I think is the name. It's a drone. Fabulous. Full of cynicism, sarcastic, great change of pace for this book. He was awesome, or it was awesome. So this book is really fantastic. A lot happens here in the 500 plus pages. It is a world that is fascinating. The book has a fabulous ending, in my opinion. It really ties things together. It feels like a proper ending in the sense that the resolution makes sense to me. And there's some descriptions at the end that were very interesting as well, like in the extras. Just a fantastic, fantastic book. As soon as I finished it, I went to Goodreads and looked at some of the other books, read a little bit about them, and it seems like this is the lowest ranked book out of all the Culture books, which again is amazing. I think that's so exciting for me. I'm obviously going to continue with the Culture series. I cannot wait to start Player of Games now. It is going to be a fabulous reading experience, I'm sure, as it is ranked much higher. I mean, of course, everybody's got different tastes. Perhaps my taste just aligned with this book so well, but I think Ian M. Banks is an author who I'm gonna love. This is somewhere in between very, very hard SF and soft SF. If you like, for example, Alistair Reynolds, you'll have no problem reading this. It's really good. It's well written. It's clear, not confusing. I really enjoyed this story. I really enjoyed this world. So yeah, very excited about this. Let me know your thoughts on Culture. Let me know if you've read Remains of the Day. Oh my gosh, this was an incredible reading experience. Anyway, this morning with my coffee, I started reading When We Cease to Understand the World by Benjamin Labatut. I think it was translated from the original Spanish. And this is already proving to be quite an experience. It's a completely unique reading format. I think someone mentioned that this is kind of like floats in between nonfiction and fiction. It's a completely original way of writing and full of interesting facts, fascinating tidbits. I just read a few pages, so it's way, way early, but I am enjoying this. And I want to thank one of my subscribers for recommending this book. When I found it in a used bookstore, I could not pass up the opportunity. So this is going to be interesting. And with this, along with this, I'm going to start reading Song of Susanna, book 6 in the Dark Tower series. That is also proving to be a fantastic, fun read, and I cannot wait to get back to that world. So this is it. If you like this video, if you like the vlog, let me know in the comments below. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.